that I like to talk about, right, which is the furniture business, also the paint business. So I'm gonna tell you guys about paint. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. I don't talk about it as much, but my name is Eric Wilkin. I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. We make boutique furniture. We have lines of furniture. We also paint a ton of furniture. We high gloss lacquer furniture, which is a very difficult process and very labor intensive. And anyway, I want to talk about these tariffs. I want to talk about where things are going in my estimation as a business owner. And I want to talk about what you can do to help offset some of these things, if there's even problems to begin with. And truth is if you're in one of these businesses, you're actually in really good shape. You know, the customer side is gonna be a little tricky, but from a product side, you're in pretty good shape. Okay, so we'll start off by talking about the business side. Okay, so when it comes to making sales, right, if you have to raise your prices, of course, it gets more difficult to make prices unless you have a very well-known product. If you are in the higher end of your particular industry, you're going to be in better shape than if you're in the lower end, right? Because obviously, as prices raise on the lower end, it gets tougher to find customers. Whereas on the top end, I mean, people will spend, if you want to raise your prices 10%, your customers aren't going anywhere. Especially if you're in, like I said, that upper tier, right? So you have different kinds of products, right? You have good, better, and best, right? And you want to operate in the best category because it's the least affected by things like tariffs, right? The things by spikes in costs and things like that. So what we'll talk about is those customers, depending on where you're operating, can be sensitive to price. So again, if you're operating in that higher tier, that best tier, you're going to be fine, right? So all right, let's talk about the products. Okay, so if you are, let's say you're a furniture maker, I put up the chart, and actually I don't have it pulled up right at the moment, but I put up the chart when I made the thumbnail for this live. And it shows the different countries and what their tariffs are going to be, okay? Now, let's just assume that there's no negotiating on the tariff side, right? And let's just assume that everything goes ahead as planned. Like, that's where we'll start, okay? Basically, China's going to be hit really hard, okay? And the thing is the reason we're doing this isn't because we don't like these countries, right? That's not the reason. The reason is because we can't sell to these countries in the same way that they can sell here, right? So we've been shoveling dollars out into the world, right? These countries have used these dollars to make manufacturing and make their economies and their ability to produce things easier to then send us cheap shit, right? Which is how it's been for 30 years at this point, and that's getting ready to change, and we'll see if any of that happens, right? But let's just assume that nothing changes. We got people coming in this morning. Mr. Palad, you look like Joe Biden. Well, thank you. I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden, but whatever. See more people coming in. Blessings from Germany. All right, Germany, good. We're going to talk about Germany a little bit today. More importantly, we'll talk about Austria. But Germany is. Yeah, Germany does what we are trying to do, and I'm curious, MJ, if you agree with me or you disagree with me on that fact. But truth is that America we've just flooded the world with dollars, for good or bad. And people have grown their economies, right, to send us cheap shit, right? We love buying all that stuff. Well, what we did back in the 90s is we decided we were going to outsource all the jobs that make everyone go to college, right? Everyone was going to become what's called a knowledge worker. And that idea was great. I mean, I remember growing up when I was young, everyone's go to college, get a degree. And I never did, and anyway, life's been fine for me. But we've come to a place where we're realizing that there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. We don't all want to be knowledge workers. And from what I understand, Germany is actually very protective of their manufacturers, right? Of their tradespeople, of the people that work with their hands, right? They're very protective of those industries. So in America, we're starting to have kind of an epiphany that not everybody can work in tech, and not everyone wants to work in healthcare, and not everyone wants to do all these things that we thought people would want to do, and it's leading to a major problem with mental health. It's leading to a major problem of purpose. It's leading to just all kinds of problems, especially in men. Like men are really struggling with what the hell do they do, because you got all these men here that they don't want to work in an office, right? They like to use words like, you know, fuck, and they like to use words like they like to be in dangerous environments. And when you strip all that kind of stuff away, it really messes up the psychology of what it means to be a man. And so we're really struggling here in America with that. I think. And again, I'm I'm no expert by any means, but it's just kind of what I see as I get older. You know, men don't do things the way that they used to, and it's a real problem. You know. So anyway, more comments. MJ, oh no, Germany fucked up right now. Oh, really? Oh, interesting. We're really in a bad place. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool, man. I really appreciate giving giving some insight on that. So I was under the impression that Germany was very protective of their manufacturing base, and that the trades and manufacturing over there was actually a big deal. Like, it was a big part of your economy. And I can get on Grok real quick, and I'm sure I could look it up. But that's new to me. So I appreciate you adding to the conversation. So. All right, so getting back to tariffs here in America, okay? So say everything goes through, right? Like, nobody negotiates, nobody does anything, okay? So as furniture makers, right? If you're in the furniture space, and we can, again, Germany isn't really going to be in the discussion on this particular topic, but if you're in America and you're a furniture maker, this is going to be good for you, right? So if you make furniture like I make furniture here in St. Louis, Missouri, this is going to be a good thing. Now, it's not all good, but here's how it works, okay? So most of the companies here in America that sell furniture to the vast majority of people are going to be companies like Crate and Barrel. There's going to be Williams Sonoma. There's going to be companies like Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware. There's the largest what's called RTA furniture manufacturer, which is your ready to assemble, their flat packing furniture, right, is actually IKEA, but there's other big ones like Solder. And these people produce all their furniture overseas, especially Indonesia, especially Vietnam, and especially China, okay? So these countries are going to get F'd in the A, as we say, when it comes to tariffs. So odds are these people are going to knock off their tariffs right away. They don't want anything to deal with that, because we are the #1 market for all of this stuff, right? Everyone wants to sell furniture to America. So odds are that's going to change. That's going to all go away, right? It's going to be a null and void kind of situation. But again, let's just say that it doesn't, okay? All of these countries that produce all this furniture, okay? Now, the high-end furniture, the place that makes the best furniture is actually Egypt. Okay, Egypt makes probably the best replica type furniture that you're going to see. Okay, a lot of companies like there's a bunch of American companies here, legacy companies that actually have their furniture made in Vietnam, right? Which is kind of messed up. There's a company called Modern History that sells a ton of furniture that used to be based out of the UK. They're making their furniture in Vietnam now. So you got a lot of companies moving to Vietnam and Indonesia, and these companies are getting like 40% tariffs, right? Which is a big deal, and it sounds like a big deal. And I'll talk about tariffs specifically in a second, but I'll give you an example of what I pay in tariffs and what's going to happen when I have to pay India's. I think it's 26% tariff. Okay, and I'll tell you why it doesn't matter at all. So more people coming in, more comments coming in. Touch on comments real quick. IKEA is really bad. Yeah, IKEA actually uses, I want to say, I read a stat, it was something like 2% of all the world's lumber like goes to make IKEA furniture, right? Which is an insane number. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, Lobo Isma 121 coming in. Egypt makes pyramids. Amish make great furniture. American Amish makes great products by American. Yeah, no, I agree with that. The truth is, and here's the thing, here's one of the things that Americans have to understand, is that the rest of the world makes fantastic furniture, right? They really do. They make fantastic furniture. And anyone that says, oh, America's the best, America makes this, America makes that, and no one's better than America, you're lying to everybody, because it's not true. There's fantastic furniture made all over the world, and it's just as good as American furniture. It really is. Now, where America really excels is we have the ability to design, right? We have the ability to be creative. We have all these tools at our disposal that allow us to do things that other countries can't do. We have access to all of the world's resources, so we can make really cool shit here. The rest of the world doesn't have that. You know, it's very difficult to make things in other countries by yourself. Here in America, you can go out in your garage and have access to the world's resources and make anything you want in your garage, which leads to a ton of innovation and creativity here in America. It's a very cool place to be. But anyway, so the idea that America makes the best of everything is complete horseshit, right? And the problem is we basically allowed everybody else to get better at what they do. You know, and that's on us. That's on what we did for the ever since NAFTA got kicked in. We did all of that, right? And so the rest of the world has gotten better. You know, so now truth is that America, if we're going to stay really good at what we do, we got to get better. And unfortunately, what's happened is we've made the rest of the world so good at manufacturing that if we don't protect ourselves, or let me rephrase that. If we don't do what the rest of the world has done, which is protect their vital industries, the rest of the world has caught up with us, and they're going to do what we do. You know, and that's just the reality of the situation, you know. And yes, the Amish make fantastic furniture, and the Amish are great. I've worked with the Amish when I lived in Kansas, and they're fantastic. But the thing is that we have to protect ourselves from what we've done, okay? And until America, you know, is willing to look itself in the eye and say, yeah, you did this. We're just going to continue to decline and decline. The rich are going to get richer, and the poor are going to get poorer. You know, and that's just how it's going to be. So, a little bit of a side tangent. More comments. Buy American. Yes, buy American, guys. And I'm going to tell you why you should buy American. I'm going to tell you why these tariffs are, for the most part, a good thing if you are an American furniture maker and if you are an American painter, right? If you own a paint company, if you own a furniture company, if you make stuff, these tariffs will be good for you, but there is a downside, and there's the short-term downside is greater than the long-term downside. All right, more comments coming in. Hi, Snooky. Okay, that's Mr. Pilato. Okay, I remember you. You've been here before. You need a haircut and a shave. Yeah, I just shaved. I just did my haircut. I was looking like a freaking werewolf the other day. Let's see, more people coming in. 1950s America made great furniture. Yeah, to 2025, Americans made great furniture. Like, there's lots of people that make fantastic furniture. I got a couple friends here in St. Louis that make some of the nicest furniture you've ever seen. I got one guy, he made a throne for the queen of some African country and went over to Africa and did a freaking throne for this chick. Like, trust me, American is known for making amazing stuff. And we still make amazing stuff. The materials aren't what they used to be, but some of the materials are better, you know, so... let's see, what about Indian furniture? Okay, I can talk about Indian furniture. My wife's from India. I'll talk about India in a minute. All right, so more America does not make the best. Look at how self-sufficient the Amish are. Yeah, the Amish are fine. I'm not going to specifically talk about the Amish. The Amish make great furniture. They're very difficult to deal with, but what they do is amazing, and I love the purity of that culture. But the truth is that they're almost irrelevant in the rest of the world. They're here in America, and that's really about it. Okay, just curious, what's the leg lamp behind you made? That would probably be made in China, right? And that was a gift from my mother, you know, and yeah, so most things come from China that we make here in America, and there's nothing we can do about it. If you wanna make some money for yourself, though, you probably need to start making things yourself, and you probably need to start making them here in America if you can help it. Or you can do what other people have done, which is to scale their businesses with digital products, right? Which is the thing that has caused America to get where it's at today, right? Nobody wants to make anything today because it's too fucking hard. So everyone decides that they're going to sell digital products. Like if you get on YouTube and look at woodworkers, all of them sell coffee cups and drawings and advertising and boner pills and things like that because making the furniture is too hard, right? Which is why I get on here on YouTube all the time and I talk about the actual business of making furniture, right? Doing this thing that we supposedly love to do and then be able to do it well enough that you can make money every day, okay? Let's see, American versions. Yes, 100%. Sean, thanks for coming in. I appreciate the comment. Yeah, and the leg lamp behind me, like I said, me and my mom, we buy stuff because we both love the movie A Christmas Story. Okay, all American factories left are for cheaper plus. Yes, 100%. You are 100% right. And I just told you guys that people are making digital shit. That's basically what they're doing, and they're selling it over and over again. They're telling you they're great woodworkers, and they're entertaining you, and they're selling you Chinese-made crap because they can't sell you their furniture because it's too hard to make it over and over again, right? Which is one of the things we need to get back to in America. This idea that you could just get on the internet and sell something and not actually have to, you know, use your hands to make anything. You're just going to be a thinker all the time. Like, I think those days are kind of... We're going to get a little bit more doing and a little less thinking, right? So the other thing is that what people like to do is they like to take a product or a good and they have another country make it because the labor over there is $1 an hour, right? And there's no regulations and there's no Companies can't be sued over there. They don't care about their employees. Their benefits are nil. Their roads suck. Their environment sucks. Their labor laws suck. Their transportation laws suck. They don't have any of that stuff. And the people over here use that to our advantage, right? Which is part of the reciprocal tariff thing that Trump just talked about. So when he was calculating these tariffs, that was one of the things that they took into the equation, right? Is what are your labor laws? What are your transportation laws? What are your tort laws, right? Which is a big one. How does your insurance work over there? How's your, OSHA work over there? Do you even have an OSHA, right? What's your EPA like over in Vietnam, right? Or do you even have an EPA, all right? What are your laws on imports, on timber imports, okay? A lot of these countries, they use woods that are not legal in America, or they use woods that they should not be using, right? Or they steal the lumber, or they're using slave labor to acquire the lumber. And these things make it over here to America dirt cheap, right? Because there's no chain of custody for all of the products that people use, not like we have here in America, right? So there's a lot of things going on that are being counted with these tariffs, and that is one of the things that people are not talking about. I want people to read these. There's a report. It's 378 pages. Just go to the country, any country you want. It's put out by the federal government, and go look at why the tariff was calculated the way it was. It's detailed in there. The only one I looked at, honestly, was Vietnam, because Vietnam is the one country that is entering into the furniture space that has the talent, has the logistics, and has the ability to out-manufacture America when it comes to furniture, right? So, and you can go on furnituretoday.com and you can read a lot of these articles about what businesses are saying here in America about foreign furniture making. It's specifically about furniture. It's a really neat website, and it's not me. I don't have any affiliation with them. I just read their articles because it's pertinent to the furniture industry. It's really good. I think it's based out of North Carolina, which is basically the hub of furniture making in America. So anyway, quick cup of coffee here. Okay, so you're a furniture maker. You have all these tariffs coming in. If you make furniture yourself, okay, things you're gonna need to know. You're gonna need to know, where does your material come from? All right, where are your hinges coming from? Your screws, your magnet catches, these kind of things, your drawer slides, all these kind of things, these mechanical things that go into your furniture, because the odds are the furniture, the wood that you use is non-issue, right? Non-issue. You don't have to worry about that, because truth is that America produces more wood than any other country on earth, right? Russia is actually a massive producer of timber. We don't talk about that very much, and people like to hate on Russia, but it sure would be nice to have access to their market. Truth is that their materials get sold through other countries, which is kind of a shitty thing to do. The other one is Canada, right? Canada to the north of us sells a ton of timber all over the world, and they have awesome materials. And anyway, we need to be able to deal with them. But truth is that you're not going to have to worry about your materials. That's not going to be an issue. The parts that a lot of these timber companies use come from America. The milling machines, the maintenance, the service, a lot of that stuff comes from America, right? Because truth is that these machines can't be down long enough to deal with a Chinese company, right? So they're generally done with American companies if you're large. So you're not going to worry about any of that kind of stuff as an American furniture maker. Your tools and things like that. You do have a lot of tools that come from Taiwan. These tools are going to get a tariff as well, right? So you're going to have to look at other tool manufacturers, right? So Powermatic's been a Tennessee-based American-made company for a long time. SawStop, I don't recommend SawStop because they're not an honest company, to be quite honest with you. That company literally tried to get every saw manufacturer in America to have to use their SawStop technology, which is a real shitty thing to do. Google that one. Those guys. That was almost corrupt what those guys wanted to do. They wanted to make bandsaws need to have their SawStop technology, and the internet loves that kind of stuff. You got a bunch of soy boys on here, but the truth is that you don't need that shit. And it's a great product if you want to buy a SawStop tool, but you shouldn't add $200 to the cost of a Grizzly tool, which is what most people kind of start out with, or a rigid table saw or something like that. You shouldn't have to add that kind of stuff. So I'm not a big fan of that company. But there's other American manufacturers that make tools, and you can buy those tools, and they're not going to be as affected by the tariffs. They use Baldor motors, which are American made, right? So anyway, so if you need tools and things like that, it's going to affect you a little bit, but you're going to be fine. Truth is, you can buy a lot of used tools. There are so many used tools in America. It's insane, and good used tools. You know, most of the tools in my shop are new. So yeah, so you'll be fine there. Now, if you buy hinges and things like that, so let's talk about Bloom for a second. The company Bloom, most people use their hinges. Everything they do is assembled in North Carolina, but their components, I believe, come from, not Germany, but I believe they come from Austria, and they come from, there's another place that the Bloom components come from. So you may see an upcharge on Bloom hinges, Bloom undermount slides, things like that. Accuride, I believe, is an American-made company. You might be able to use them, but odds are that they're going to get a lot of their shit from their components from other countries. So you may see some increased cost there, but the bulk of your product, being that it's wood, you're not going to see much. You know, so you're going to be okay. There's a lot of American fastener companies where you can get screws, hinges, nails, all those kind of things. So you should be fine there. I don't think that's going to be necessarily a big issue, but furniture makers are going to do just fine. Now, the cool thing about what I started talking about earlier was that the people that are buying all this foreign-made stuff are going to see immediately these people are going to raise their prices because they have to, because their margins are so low that they're going to have to increase the price of their products, right? And that goes back to good, better, best, right? So if you're operating in the good or the better space, you don't have as much margin, right? If you're operating in the best space, you got a ton more margin to deal with. So tariffs are not going to affect you nearly as much, and there's going to be more customers to buy your stuff. Now, there's going to be less overall revenue on the furniture side because of the tariffs, right? Because the cost of furniture will go up. There's no doubt about it. But if you're operating that best tier, you're going to capture more of it. I guarantee it. You know, so these people that are flipping out about the cost of, you know, some cheap credenza from, you know, whatever from China going up $50, like that does not affect you. Like you're gonna be okay, and more people you're gonna have access to more customers. I guarantee it. You know, so furniture makers are gonna be fine in this situation. If you're just getting in here, I'm sorry guys, I need to go through the comments. I was kind of running on my little spiel here. Hit the like button, add to the comments, let me know where you're at, what you do. I appreciate it. I'm always curious if people are in the furniture space. Seems like a lot of these streams, you don't have a ton of people that are necessarily in the furniture game, but they work with their hands, right? They do you know, dirty work, as I say. So anyway, so if you're in the furniture space, the tariffs here in America are going to be great. Now, if you're in another country, like we had a guy in here from Germany, America's not really going to affect you all that much. You know, you might sell less Audis. I drive an Audi. I also drive a Volkswagen. I got two cars. I work on both of them. They're both, one's 2005, one's 2011. And I got to work on all of them, you know, and it's fine. I love working on cars, not a big deal. But you're probably going to see less sales into America because of growing prices, and, you know, auto parts and stuff like that. That's a big deal. So maybe, you know, maybe Audi's gonna, you know, put a factory here in America. I have no idea. I don't think you guys sell that much, that many cars here. But I know Mercedes and all these other car companies. I think Mercedes does have a factory here in America, by the way. But anyway, so Germany's going to be in trouble, right? Germany's going to have to find more customers to buy their stuff, and it's just going to be the nature of it. Like we're not going to send our dollars out to the rest of the world as much. It's just not going to happen anymore. So anyway, okay, I'm going to go through the comments real quick, and then we're going to talk about paint companies. Okay, we're going to talk about. Because paint is interesting, right? Because everyone always says, oh, everything's so global. Everything's so global, okay? We just talked about furniture. Turns out furniture is not so global. And this is true for every country. Every country has access to their own materials for the most part. Again, I don't know about Germany, but paint's kind of interesting. So we'll talk about painting. All right, so I'm going to scroll through the comments here. Coming through. Okay, we got more people. The biggest export was jeans at one point. Now Levi's Indonesia. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that again. Now, people may disagree with me on this. I'm going to go hard on corporate America. I'm going to go really hard on corporate America. Okay, I'm a capitalist. I own a company. I believe in big business. I believe that America is the greatest country on earth, and I believe we're the best companies, and we innovate everything here. Everything is created in America. Now, people can disagree with me on this, but YouTube is where we're at, American made. The phone you're on is probably American designed. The company that makes your phone is probably an American made company, unless it's Samsung, which I think is South Korean. But the internet, you know, America popularized the internet. There's so many things that America has done, whether you like it or not. You know, people are making fun of the leg lamp, the movie industry, big American thing, right? You know, of course, India has Bollywood, but America does a lot of interesting stuff, okay? But corporate America has sold out its people. And everyone wants to say, oh, it's these other countries. Germany did this, Russia did this, China did this. They want to blame everybody but the American corporation. Okay, and this is my big rant, and people don't like when I say this, but when we sent everyone to college, we basically told everyone that your country means nothing. The people in your country mean nothing. Your job is to make money however you can. You have what we call a fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders and to the people at your company, and that's it. Doesn't matter who you fuck over, doesn't matter what jobs you outsource so that you can get a little bit more money in your pocket. None of that matters, right? And this is a personal pet peeve of mine because it's not a good way to operate. It is not, if you are not working in your company and you are not helping your company grow and you have to send truckloads of cash to people who basically just invest in your company, like, I have no problems with that. But if your job to get money to your investors is to send jobs over to China, I got a big fucking problem with that. And we need to change that here in America, and that is getting ready to be a problem. Okay, so here's how that works. If say someone buys the Resplendent Crow, my company, okay, I make furniture, I send out, I don't know, 500-600 pieces a year. I make low tiny seven figures. I personally probably make $100,000 to $150,000 a year. Okay, somebody comes in, buys my company, says, here, I'm gonna give you $5 million for your company. I want you to run it. All right, so company comes in, buys my company. I get whatever, $5 million, right? And then I get a salary of whatever, $150,000 a year to help run this company. Okay, the corporation, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to say, you know what, your painting process is amazing, your designs are amazing, but the cost to produce your goods is too much money. We need more margin on all of your stuff, okay? We have to get some more money out of this because I bought this company. I need this company to make some more money because I got to get paid too. Okay, so we got to pay the guy that bought the company or whoever that bought the company, and then he's got a bunch of people on his staff that need to get paid as well. So now suddenly, my company has to go from paying 7 people a good salary, paying myself a decent salary. I have to go to paying 12 people, 6 who don't actually do any work, right? These are finance people. These are people that, are good at increasing margins and lowering costs. Well, they say, you know what, Eric, we got to make this furniture over in Egypt because they can make every piece of furniture for about $300. It's costing you $1,200 to make this stuff, right? So then they take the jobs here, the people that are working to make furniture and paint furniture here, they send it all over to Egypt, right? And that's literally how the process works, okay? And then what they'll do is they'll hire someone to design some furniture, or they'll hire someone in marketing. They'll pay someone in marketing, right? And they'll take the salary of the guy that was making stuff that was also designing the furniture, which is what I do. They're going to give that job to 10 people in Egypt to build furniture and 1 or 2 people here in America to make to do advertising and to do design work. And that's how it works, right? So then you have less people making things, more people designing and thinking, and that's what they've done for the last 30 years. So now we have a country of people that don't know how to do anything. All they know how to do is this one thing that they do at work that they get paid for, right? And it's a real problem, right? And this is the thing about the where we're going in America, which just drives me absolutely crazy. I'm super pissed at corporate America because they sold this country out. All right, and I'll tell you guys one more story, and then I'm gonna get back to the topic. I had a buddy in Savannah, Georgia. His job was literally to take products in America for this company called Sports Authority, and his job was to take these high-end products like Yeti coolers and things like that, and take them over to his contacts in China and remake all of this stuff, and then bring it back here, label it in the company's brand, I forget what it was, and then sell that product here in America. Okay, that was his job. So his job was to take this great product, which was Yeti, and then have it made over in another country under a different brand name, right? So I hate this idea of what we're doing here in America, and this idea that people can just come up with an idea here in America, have somebody in another country make it, and then you get to come back in here and make a shit ton of money and then go buy a yacht, right? Or go tell everyone else how to make money by outsourcing their work to another country, okay? It's selling out your country, and we're getting ready to change this idea. And I blame this all on colleges. I blame it all on the federal government giving gobs of money to research, gobs of money to colleges, to gobs of money to basically indoctrinate our entire culture, right? Where do you think the EPA gets all of its knowledge from? It gets it from college and research. OSHA, college and research. Our government gets all of its ideas from college and research. We have destroyed what it means to be a self-sufficient country that can make things. Like we've destroyed it all. You know, it's a big problem. And you'll see this. Guess what's getting ready to happen? I'll give you guys a quick tip and then I'm done. What's getting ready to happen is you're going to see colleges are going to try and give degrees for woodworking. They're going to try and give degrees for welding. They're going to try and give all these. You're going to have a fucking degree in college. It's going to be a bachelor's of general laborer, right? That's what you're going to get to have, and you'll see it. It'll happen. You'll see these colleges trying to give out degrees for framing, right? You're going to have a bachelor's of framing. You know, you're going to have a PhD in welding. Like, trust me, it's coming. So anyway, all right, back to our discussion. We're going to talk about paint. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what's going to happen with paint as it pertains to tariffs if you're in the painting game, okay? And we'll talk, I know this because I have a paint company, all right? So we'll talk about that. All right, a few more comments. Again, guys, good morning. Hit the like button. My name is Eric Wilkin. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I own the Resplendent Crow, where we manufacture furniture and we paint furniture right here in America. We hand make it all. And it's a fantastic business, but it's really hard. And tariffs are coming in, and I'll tell you, I'm not worried about it one bit. There's a little bit of concern, but for the most part, I'm not worried about it. Okay, paint. So here's the deal. So I build furniture, and then I paint it with high gloss lacquer, right? I paint a high gloss lacquer, or what's called nitrocellulose lacquer paint. And see if I get some interaction. Thank you so much. So we paint all this furniture, okay? I take people's furniture from all over the country, right? I go there, I deliver furniture. I also pick up people's furniture, bring it back here to St. Louis. We sand it, we prime it, we paint it, and we take it back to the customer, right? The business is good. The model works. Shipping's very expensive, right? People love our high gloss lacquer coating, right? So my business is made around my high gloss lacquer coating, right? I don't know how many. Sorry, I couldn't even tell you how much paint I go through every week. We probably go through, I'll just say 10 gallons a day, right? That's how much paint we go through. I spray 6 to as much as 12 different colors every day. We're constantly running through colors and different colors of paint. So we're constantly painting furniture, right? I use two paint companies, okay? The paint companies that I use for all of my paint are Sherwin-Williams and Mohawk, okay? And people know Mohawk's a little lesser known. They're known for flooring, of all things, to be quite honest with you. If you're in the furniture refinishing game, they have awesome stains and dyes and things like that. They're a fantastic company. But anyway, these are the two nitrocellulose lacquer companies that I use. And Sherwin-Williams paint is made in America, okay? Now, their tints and things like that, what we call colorants, are sourced from all over the place, right? But the majority of their paint is made in America. So as a painter, if you're using Sherwin-Williams paint, and actually I had to pull this up on Grok because I wasn't sure, right? It's Baltimore, Maryland, right? You're talking 150,000 gallons of paint are made daily, right? In Baltimore, okay? Now, there's all kinds of, again, things that go into that paint, which some of that stuff could be sourced outside, which is, like I said, like colorants and tints and stuff like that, but the bulk of it is made here in America, okay? So paint, while it may be affected a little bit, it's not gonna be affected in a way that people might try and scare you into belief. So again, if you're a painter, you paint houses, you paint furniture, cars, I don't know about, I don't dabble in that, but you're gonna be okay. Right, so the tariff thing isn't going to drive your price. Now, Sherwin may come to you again and say, we're going to have to raise prices 5%. You know, these fucking people the last 3 years have come to me, I think twice a year at this point, and they always come to me, hey, Eric, how's it going? I'm trying to catch up with you. Well, guess what? We're going to have to raise prices 5% again. You know, like, I'm so sick of these guys coming to me. And this is prior to tariffs, right? This is because of COVID, right? This is because of all the demand from printing money and giving everybody a paycheck, right? So hopefully Sherwin-Williams isn't going to do this again because they've done it so many times the last 3 years. I don't want to have this conversation again. But anyway, I think for the most part, painters are going to be fine, okay? It's not going to affect you that much. Now, if you buy, let's talk about foreign-made paints, okay? One of the big ones in my space that people always love to talk about is fine paints of Europe, right? So if you are spraying with fine paints of Europe or you're brushing with fine paints of Europe, a lot of times it's real popular for people to do front doors, kitchen cabinets even. I got a friend that paints kitchen cabinets with fine paints of Europe. You're fucked. Like there's not much you can do there, right? The only hope is that the EU or these other countries are going to work with America to get the tariffs down, right? So hopefully they'll do something there, and Europe always works with America, so I'm sure we'll figure something out. But that company, you're in trouble. Companies like not Farrow and Ball. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Uh, I got Farrow Ball in my brain. I got Lloyd's of London, which is an insurance company. There's popular paints here in America that use these other paints that are just, you're going to be affected. There's nothing you can do about it, and you're just going to have to ride out the wave. Fortunately, with fine paints in Europe, you can't do really high volume, so you're not going to be doing a ton of that type of work. A lot of people will be affected by fine paints in Europe, but I don't think there's any way around that one. So again, if you use Sherwin, I think you're going to be okay. You might see a little bit of an uptick, but it's not going to kill you. Okay. Now, if you use Mohawk, right? Mohawk paint is also American made, right? So you're not going to have to. Actually, I'm going to double check that one real quick. Say, where is Mohawk lacquer made? If you guys don't use Grok, Grok is amazing. It just destroys Google, in my opinion, because it gives you all the sources and it populates super fast. It just gives you an actual text of what's going on. It doesn't give you a ton of links, and you got to sift through the paid for links and all the sponsored stuff. So here they're going to talk about specifically the entire company. I'm not seeing anything that says specifically where their lacquered paint is made, but it looks like they're. Oh my goodness, sorry guys. I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't. It's not saying exactly where their plants are made, but it says that they're likely multiple plants across the United States. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but I have a rep coming. I think this month, to talk about a tint system. So I could possibly ask that question. But anyway, point is that I believe you're going to be okay when it comes to Mohawk. You're not have to worry about your paint prices going up. You're going to be fine. But it's everything else within the paint industry that's going to get you, right? It's going to be all your masking papers, your tapes, all these kind of things. If you use respirators, VOC cartridges, 3M products, stuff like that, you're going to get hit, right? Because a lot of that stuff is made in China, which is, again, part of why I think Trump is doing this. So much of the stuff is made in China, which is great, but it's going to get hit, So the cost of your paint won't go, but I think all the ancillary products that go in are gonna suck. Your sandpapers, a lot of sandpapers are actually made in Canada. A lot of sandpapers are also made in Egypt, right? So a lot of these places are going to get hit. So I think that's going to be a problem for painters. That's really going to suck. Your filters and things like that, a lot of that stuff's made in other countries, So I think you're going to be in trouble. But the paint itself should be a problem if you're in the furniture space. So anyway, that's kind of what I want to talk about. I just wanted to, I felt the need to kind of, as a furniture maker and a paint company, I thought would have some good information for people about what that's going to do for you on a cost level. But again, all these people that are buying stuff overseas, especially in the furniture game, these people are in trouble. Okay, so I'll give you one last thing before I get off of here. I want to talk about imports, right? We're talking about tariffs on these imports. I import brass hardware from India. Okay, so I'll tell you guys exactly how that works and what the tariff is going to do to me, right? So I'm gonna go through the comments real quick. Last thing, Eric Wilkin, if you want to talk, so I try and talk in the morning because I get up early. I own Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. We paint furniture, we make furniture. We do a low 7 figures, probably ship 500-600 pieces a year. During COVID, I was doing 2,500, right? So I was super busy. But anyway, we have a known high gloss lacquer coating that we're known for. We also make bespoke and production line furniture. It's a great company, okay? Hit the like button, add to the comments. I appreciate it. We got people from all over the place coming in saying hi. I'm going to run through the comments real quick, and then I'll talk about tariffs and brass hardware, which I import. Okay, so American furniture is excellent. The biggest import is jeans. Yep, I talked about that already. Which again, that's another thing. Levi's, that company corporate America today, the first thing they want to do is get their product made in another country because it allows them to make more money, right? And all these corporate companies, the first thing they do when they get money, an injection of cash, is they start buying back stock, right? Which again, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're sending all your work overseas and then putting that money in investor pockets, that is a crime. It is a fucking crime. And it makes me so mad as a business owner and a capitalist because I would never do that. Like, I would never do that. because I want other people to make things. I want people to work with their hands. I want, people to teach their kids how to build credenzas and coffee tables and work on cars. And we're losing all of this here in America, right? So these tariffs, in part, are to protect our country from losing these things, which literally made America what it is. We're trying to basically metamorphose into something else. Like, I don't know if we're all supposed to be hooked into the machine, but we need people to make things. It's important. It's important for your head to be able to build shit and know how to fix things today. It's super important. We're getting ready to change that, I hope. But yeah, these corporations got to stop sending all the work overseas and then putting the money in investor pockets. It's criminal. If you're not going to put it in your workers and invest in your plants and invest in everything here in America, what are you doing? Really bothers me. Okay, we got the Sean 17. What's the time in your city now? Here it is 6:10 in the morning on Thursday. I think I started the stream at 6 a.m. in the morning on Thursday. I spent over $90,000 in American furniture in my home. Yeah, you're probably one of my customers. You're probably the kind of people that I sell to. Yesterday, I went to a massive house in Washington, Missouri, and they want me to put something like 14 pieces of furniture in their home, right? So that means I'm probably gonna have to make 10 of them, and I'll probably put in 4 vintage pieces, So yeah, you're my kind of customer, and American-made furniture is very expensive. But here's the thing: when something goes wrong with your American-made furniture, we will service it for years. We will help you. We will even buy your old furniture back from you. We will paint your furniture. We will stain your furniture. We will fix it. We do all kinds of things that, again, if you get your furniture made from, like, say you buy something from Pottery Barn, okay? You have a problem with something on Pottery Barn literally just sends you a new piece of furniture and doesn't even want the old piece of furniture back because it's so cheap to make it in another country. And that's almost like your litmus test for whether or not you should buy from another company. If they don't care about your product so much, they don't even want you to send it back, that their product is shit. That their business model is garbage. That you're not buying from somebody that cares about their product. They care about their business model, right? And we're gonna change that here. So yeah, I'm glad you spent all that money, and again, I appreciate it as a furniture maker here in America. I'm the same way. I spend gobs of money on furniture. I own a furniture company. Peoples are good in America. Yeah, people are good in America. America's a great country. There's a lot of countries that are great countries. But again, we have a poison here in America, and that poison is money, right? That poison is anything to make a dollar. And it doesn't matter who you got to fuck over to do it. It's a poison, and we need to get away from that. And we Americans are addicted to materialism. And again, there's nothing wrong with materialism. I am the most materialistic person there is. But work comes first. I love work more than I love stuff. And we've kind of gotten away from that here in America. See, the band Journey outsourced the front. Yeah, no, that dude's amazing. Good for him. Like, how are you going to replace Steve Perry? Are you kidding me? Steve Perry is one of the greatest singers of all time, and they replaced him with that little Filipino dude. I forget his name. Like, starts with an A, I think. But it's amazing. Like, you hear that dude's voice, and you're like, what the hell? That guy. How does he sound like that? Like, you would never expect that voice to be in that little person, And man, he's got a ton of energy. I mean, the guy's great. Journey did it was like a special on finding that kid. What an amazing story. And that's the great thing about Journey. Journey could have just went away, right? But this is the thing about perseverance, right? They weren't going to give up. They scoured the internet using YouTube, right, where we're at right now, using YouTube to find this kid. Armando, I think was his name, or Armando or something like that. They found this kid on freaking YouTube singing Journey songs in the Philippines, if I remember correctly. And yeah, freaking amazing story. But they kept on going. What else are you going to do? You got to keep cooking. Just like if, what do you say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And man, Journey, man, good on them. That band's freaking amazing. I love the Oakwood furniture. Yeah. People love oak, especially white oak. White oaks are popular right now. Red oak was popular back in the 80s and early 90s, and it's not as popular now. But white oak's still super popular. I don't personally work with oak. My company started, my parents' woodworking business in Corvallis, Oregon, was started using red oak. We made red oak office furniture for 20 years, So I don't want to see any more red oak. Ugh. All right, Sean seems like an oak man. I'm an oak man myself. Yeah, a lot of oak men. Petroleum from Arabia. Yeah, so petroleum's interesting, right? So the in 19, God, I want to say it was like the early 70s. America, no, it's the 50s. America hooked up with Saudi Arabia, helped them to develop their oil. Okay, the only reason Saudi Arabia and the Middle East is as prosperous as it is because Standard Oil went in there, which is a company founded, I believe, in Toledo, Ohio. Went in there and helped them to develop all the technology to extract the oil, right? And now they're Saudi Aramco is, I believe, the largest company or the most profitable company in the world. Like it's like $1 trillion company. People don't talk about it very much, but Saudi Aramco is massive. And yeah, that stems from America, which is why America has the petrodollar, right? This is the deal we struck with them, right? Every oil from Saudi Aramco would be you had to buy it in American dollars, right? Which is America's greatest export is the dollar, right? Everyone needs freaking dollars. Everyone wants dollars because that's what transactions are done in. And it has been the greatest thing for America, but it has also been the worst thing for America. Avocado, yeah, I start listing all things that come from all these different countries. I hear this, you know who makes more avocados than Mexico? California. California, and I'm sorry, let me rephrase it, not the most avocados. They're the most expensive, right? And that's the thing about America. America just thinks we should have things all year round. No, we shouldn't. We should not have things all year round. And if you want to have them all year round, you're going to pay for them, right? America shouldn't have to pay for it, right? And I hear these people talk about things like blueberries. You know, it's like you can't have blueberries in December. There's no fucking blueberries in December here, right? And if you want them, you're going to pay $10, you know, for them. And that's just how it's going to be. And people bitch about that, you know, and I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand it. It just blows my mind. It's like crying because it's cold in December. Like, what are you going to do? It's supposed to be cold in December. You're not supposed to have blueberries in freaking in December. Like, I don't know what to tell people. Like, we have it so good in America that we can't, you know, do anything that causes the cost of tomatoes to go up in the winter. Like, give me a freaking break. I don't understand it. Yeah, I dig the leg lamp. Yeah, and did yeah. Thanks for the comment. Yeah. I love the movie A Christmas Story. My mom loves it. We love all those Christmas stories. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We're fans. Reclaimed wood going up. So reclaimed wood is kind of in my personal opinion, you know, it's kind of interesting. I went to a winery in Napa called Freemark Abbey, and they did their entire tasting room out of reclaimed. I want to say it was yellow pine. It was pretty cool. So it was a really neat looking room. But reclaimed wood is kind of a, you know, it's kind of a virtuous thing, I guess it might be how I put it. But yeah, it's a good way to make money, you know, but man, tough on your machines. Let's see, Audi and Volkswagen use Saudi fuel, of course, yep. Titanium dioxide and paint. So yes, titanium oxide is the color white, and titanium oxide is the base for most white paints. And the truth is, when you make a white paint, like we have all kinds of white colors, I mix up all my own paints. Titanium oxide is the #1 component. It's also the heaviest, right? And paints use a ton of it. So there's, I think there's 11 or 12 different tints that make up colors, right? And titanium oxide is the one that I use more than anything. I go through tons of it. It makes paint, it's actually anything that has a lot of titanium oxide in it paints really well. You can paint it horizontally, you can paint it vertically. It's fantastic, requires less coats. Your thin paints, things that don't use titanium oxide, like your greens and blues, yeah, chartreuse type colors, they go on like water. You know, they're very difficult to spray. You have to be very good at it. So yeah. All right. The same. You and I. Hey man, it's a small world. You know, everyone's got to have things that they all love. All right. Good. We got who is this? Twice Rights. So good. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate everyone coming in. And again, the conversation here is just tariffs. It's about American tariffs and what the rest of the world, how the rest of the world is going to be affected, and how it's going to affect you as a business owner, as someone that wants to be in the woodworking game, that wants to be in the painting game. These tariffs are going to slow your business down 100%. There will be less customers buying, but if you're really good at what you do, you won't be affected very much. And if you want to get into this space, there's going to be more opportunity for you to start a business in your garage, for you to start painting in your garage, because you're not going to have to compete as much with China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Egypt, Malaysia. There's so many freaking countries that are producing furniture. Oh, and I said I would talk about tariffs real quick about my importation from India. I import a lot of hardware, so I'm gonna get to that in just 1 second. A few more comments and I'll be done. We got Misty coming in, and all goes back to China. I don't know if it all goes back to China. Like I said, I don't blame China for any of this. This is corporate America that has completely sold out its people. It's not It's not other countries, right? Other countries, yes. China subsidizes its industry. They don't have the EPA rules that we have here. They don't have the OSHA rules that we have here. They don't have the tort and the logistics regulations that we have here. They don't have that stuff, right? Which is the problem, right? So what's happened is we sent everyone to college and everyone says, oh, I want clean air and I want clean water and I don't want people to have to work more than 8 hours a day. And we put all these restrictions on what can be done in America. Well, the MBA that wants to start a company, who just says, well, fuck this, I'm not going to do this here. It's too expensive. I'll have it done in China because there's no OSHA. There's no EPA. There's no, you can only drive 8 hours a day. You can only work 8 hours a day, right? There's none of that. They don't have that there. They can use slave labor. They don't care what your religion is. They can say any words that they want. There's no fucking HR in China, right? Meanwhile, we have all that stuff here, right? So do you guys see how this works? So like when I do a stream, people see me, I'll drink a beer at lunch, right? People flip the fuck out. Like, why are you freaking out? It's my company. I can do whatever I want. But everyone has been indoctrinated, especially the YouTube police, right? They have been indoctrinated into thinking that, oh, you can't do any of that. That's unsafe. Why are you doing that? Meanwhile, the guy over in China has no safety, anything, but they're buying all that Chinese-made shit and then say that I'm a bad guy because I might have a beer at lunch. Like, do you see how this works? Like, this is what's going on. And again, when all these tariffs come in, and you can't buy all that cheap shit over here. When you try and start a company here in America, you're going to find out all the regulations and bullshit that you have to put up with just to start a company, okay? And that's what needs to happen. That's going to be the blessing of all of this. It's going to open up everyone's eyes to think that, oh yeah, everything we do is unsafe. Everything is unhealthy. If we want to have a thriving economy, we want to compete with the rest of the world, unfortunately, we can't outsource all the bad shit to other countries. We're going to have to bring some of that shit here. Which is what needs to happen, right? The reason everyone knows about electricity, right? The reason your electricity costs have gone through the roof the last couple of years isn't because there's more electricity demand. It's not. It's because we can't make any electricity plants, right? Like across the river here from me, there's a coal burning fire plant or a power plant, right? They're trying to shut that thing down. Like, why? Why are you trying to shut down? Because you can't make any more power stations here in America. It's too difficult. It takes too long to do anything because of all the regulations. It's ridiculous. There's no nuclear power plants. Everyone in China, they're making something like 150 nuclear power plants in China right now. We're making none. Like, do you guys see how this works? Like, we can't compete with these virtuous thoughts that we have. It just isn't going to work, So I hope people get this and understand what's happening and why this is ultimately, I think, going to be a good thing. It's going to be tough in the beginning because people are going to freak out. They're going to see fear mongering. People are probably going to lose their jobs. I would assume a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but it's going to make us better on the back end. And I hope this comes through to people. And keep going to the comments. I'm getting to tariffs and India and hardware and brass specifically. Say, did Daddy Trump make America great again with the new tariffs? Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. So this is Dakota Miller. Yeah, we're talking about that day. And it's not Daddy Trump. He's just Trump. He's just a president, not the president. He's trying something different, which, again, this is a good thing, and people will freak out and they don't want anything to change. Nobody wants any change. All they want is cheap shit. They supposedly say they want health care. They want, what's the other thing they want? They want to be able to work 8 hours a day. And they want to be able to raise their kids, and they want to be able to have a home and all these kind of things. And that's all well and good. But the truth is that you're running out of people to pay for it, right? And everyone says, tax the rich, okay? The rich sent all your fucking jobs overseas, okay? So they sent all that work overseas, and everyone wants to say it's China's fault. It's Germany's fault. It's India's fault. It's anybody's fault but America. America did this to itself, right? So when these people come in and say, I want health care and I want all this kind of stuff. Like you did this to yourself, people. Like, again, all the regulations are all in other countries. You make it difficult to start a paint company. You know what I have to do to start a paint company here? Like the amount of shit that I have to go through, all of the disposal standards that there are, all the fire suppression standards that we have here in America, all that stuff costs money. And it makes it harder for other people to start that company. Meanwhile, I could have that done over in Egypt, like that. Okay, there's a company called Gemma. I just hook up with them. They take care of all of it, right? And then I make my product overseas. And guess what? You don't have a job. You get to sit, on your phone like we're doing right here, and you get to hammer people about how that's dangerous and how we're not safe and how we're going to make dirty air and we're going to make dirty water, right? You're going to hammer everybody at the same time. You're sending all that work overseas with your virtue. That's what's going on. I hate to say it to people, but this is the world we live in, right? We sent all that stuff over the rest of the world. Well, that raised the cost raised the quality of life for everybody, and now suddenly shit ain't cheap anymore over there. It's not. It's getting more expensive. So complain all you want about Trump. At least he's trying something different. So we'll see what happens. It may be a complete failure. You know what? But I applaud the guy for at least trying something different rather than blaming everybody else for our problems. Okay, he's putting on a tariff. He's planting his flag and saying, "Here's what we're doing." Give the guy a chance. That's all we can do. Okay, next comment. I got Aviyata. I don't know what that name is. It's kind of an Elon. Oh, Dada Elon. So yeah, everyone's against Elon. That's hilarious. Everyone loved Elon, and then suddenly he's talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, and now he's the enemy. That's interesting. Okay, so Missy's coming in again more. Is a problem with our leaders? No, it's not the leaders. I'm sorry. Our leaders are retarded. Okay, the problem is the companies, right? Our leaders are bought and paid for, right? And you'll say, Elon's bought and paid for. Trust me, Elon doesn't need your money. Elon wants you to work. Elon wants you to create things and innovate and disrupt. That's what Elon wants. Trump is the same way, right? Trump wants you to make things, wants you to go out and start companies, and he wants you to have as little headwinds as possible, right? He wants you to just go out and do stuff, try things, do new things, and that's what everybody should want, okay? The large corporations are literally putting regulation onto the backs of Americans so that we have to outsource everything. Like, I don't know why people don't understand this. It's not the politician. The politician is getting paid, right? The politician is getting paid to do this, right? It is literally the companies that are doing this. They write all the laws, okay? And I think, Misty, you would at least give me that, right? You would at least agree with me that that's what's going on. All right, next one. Is that the real leg? No, I wish it was, but it did show up in a crate, which was really cool. I have a video of it. I should post it sometime. It did show up in a crate, and I did have to unwrap it, which was pretty cool. But yes, it is a leg made in China. It's probably $50. Shipping $500, which is funny. We can do that in America, which is hilarious. It's a great story. I love the leg lamp. All right, more Misty coming in. How is Elon making money off of this ever? Thought about that. Elon makes money off everything, okay? And that's because Elon does things that are disruptive, okay? I'm gonna give you a quick example of this. And I don't hear people talk about this too much, okay? So the guy not created electric cars, but he popularized the electrical vehicle, okay? The electrical vehicle was actually, I believe General Motors was working on that back in the 90s, or it was Honda. It was one of the two, right? So we had those before, but they didn't figure out the infrastructure of how to charge the thing. We were using NiCad batteries. NiCad batteries were shit, okay? Elon comes along, they're using lithium ion. But the first thing that Elon did is he created the supercharger network, right? Which, again, do your research, okay? It's not the car that made EVs what they are. It's the supercharger network, okay? This is the reason that my Tesla, which I own a Model Y, I can drive here to Kansas City, stop in Columbia, Missouri, charge up my car in 10 minutes using a supercharger, okay? It will charge the entire car in 10 minutes. You go to any other charger, it takes an hour. It takes an hour and a half. It can even take up to 4 hours because it's so inconsistent, okay? What Elon did with the charging network is there was one standard. Every supercharger you go to is basically the same, right? So they charge this. You can have a ton of people at it, which will slow it down, but for the most part, they charge this very fast. That's what he did that people don't understand. It's the charging network that is what sells a Tesla, not the Tesla. The other thing that Elon did is SpaceX, okay? He put rockets into space, right? And people always talk shit on people that are very successful. Oh, they're wasting their money. They can feed the homeless. You're never going to feed the homeless 100%. You're never going to end, the famine. You're never going to end all. You can't do it. It's impossible. Okay, it's like trying to get a homeless person off the street. A person that's homeless is not homeless because they don't have money. They're homeless because they're hooked on drugs. Okay, and I know this because I lived in Oregon. Right, I have a bunch of family in Seattle. We go back to Seattle. I understand also. I've been to California. I'm from the West Coast. Okay, these problems are not solvable by massive groups of people. They're solvable only by people and by family. Okay, now completely side discussion. Okay, Elon creates SpaceX. The only company that can go to SpaceX, or they can go to space, is SpaceX because NASA couldn't do it. It was too expensive. They weren't innovating. They weren't doing the things that were necessary, right? They would just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and they were getting fed government dollars, right? And the way the government works is that you have to spend all of your money. If you don't, you won't get the same or as much the next year. I know this because I used to sell furniture to all the municipalities in Corvallis, Oregon. And we knew that towards the end of the year, we were going to get shit tons of work because all of the school districts and the police departments had to go through their funds and they would buy furniture from us. Okay, so that's what Elon does. He creates things that are not popular or that failed in the past. Okay, the last thing I'll say is Starlink, which is probably the biggest one. Okay, the guy literally created a mesh of technology around the globe. Okay, we idiots have been digging under the ground and putting up telephone poles and doing fiber optic cables for 40 years at this point. Okay, this guy just had this one idea and did it all by himself. Okay, how come Verizon never did that? How come none of the Bell companies did any of this stuff? How come, what's another one? T-Mobile, or all these companies, right? They all kind of use the same cell towers. How come none of these companies did this stuff? It's because of incrementalism, right? Incrementalism is what large corporations want. They want to just roll out a little bit of new technology at a time, and then they buy up anything that's new and creative. This is how it works. Elon came in because he had so much money. When they try and shut this guy down, they try and regulate him out of existence. He said, "Fuck you," right? I don't need your money. I don't want your litigation. I will fight you every step of the way. And that's why he's doing what he's doing. And the truth is that he wants you to do the same thing. He wants you to be able to create and do whatever you want and not be fear-mongered by large corporations or incrementalism or regulations or being sued or any of these things. Like that's the thing this guy does. So when people bash Elon, I laugh about it. It's unnecessary. And it's like, leave the guy alone. Let him do what he's going to do. He's not your enemy. Your enemy is your government and the corporations that buy and pay all of these people in government. Those are your enemies, okay? It's not this one person. All right, more stuff coming in. Let's see here. Policies once you get the laws. Yeah, Misty, I don't know what you're saying there. Supercharger, yep, okay. Defend the guy more. Yeah, I'm sorry, I defend people. Like I'm not afraid to defend you. Okay, so anyway, all right, so I'm gonna tell you guys about tariffs real quick, and then I get out of here. I think we're up to we're up to an hour. Holy shit. Okay, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and add to the comments. All those kind of things. I appreciate everyone having this discussion. I'm gonna talk about tariffs a lot in the next week or so, because again, I think it's if you make things in America, you want to start a small business, I think it's good. If you're one of these people that wants to create digital products and you want to make things overseas and then bring them back to America and reap the benefits, I got a problem with that. So I'm probably not gonna be the person you want to listen to. So anyway, okay, so tariffs. So I import hardware from India. I design all this stuff. I build it here on my computer in SolidWorks, and then I send what are called DXF files over to I got two different people that I work with in India, and they cast this stuff. Sometimes they'll laser cut it. There's all different kinds of ways to make brass hardware. Anyway, they do all that over there. It's big industry, and the brass is super cheap in India, right? It's super expensive to buy it here in America. Why is that? It's kind of interesting. Maybe we're going to fix that. Anyway, I buy it over there. They send it over here. Okay, now I have to buy it in bulk. I can't just order one, right? I can't order 10. I have to order 100 at a time of anything that I buy, right? So every piece of that hardware, like we'll use an example, okay? Say a piece of hardware there costs me $2, all right? I sell it here for 90, okay? So let that sink in for a second, right? So I'm able to make something in another country, and then I'm able to turn it over here and sell it at a massive markup, okay? This is what corporate America has done to Americans. And what they've done is they've said, you know what, we don't do that here in America anymore. And they're 100% right, because everyone has started to do it in other countries so they can bring that money back to America and sell it at American prices, okay? Which means that there's nobody making hardware here, right? I use the example of the company Kohler. Kohler makes all the sinks and toilets and stuff like that, okay? They don't make any of that shit here in America, right? I've worked on their private jets, by the way. They got private jets, but they can't make their fucking product here in America, okay? I got a problem with that, right? This is why CEO pay is 2,000 times what the average worker pay is, right? Okay, this is why these companies have stockholders and investors, right? These people, they get all this money for doing no work, right? Maybe they did some work in the beginning, they got some money, and then they're giving that money to that company. Like, I get that, but the truth is they're not doing any work. They're not adding value. They're adding some of their money, but they're not adding value to the company by way of designing something, advertising something, making something. They're not doing any of that shit, right? Which I got a real problem with that. So I bring that hardware in, and I'm Right now, I have to pay I think it's 2.6% tariff, right? So I bring that thing in, it costs me $2 to buy it from India. I pay a 2.6% tariff on top of that, right? So what am I at? $2 and 4 cents, whatever that might be. It's dirt cheap. Okay. Well, here's what's going to happen. Okay. So now that tariff has gone up to say, I forgot to look at it. It's probably like 25%. Okay. So now that $2 becomes, I'm gonna have to pay 50 cents on top of that. Okay. So now that's $2.50. I still sell that piece of hardware for $90. Okay. So when that tariff comes in, I'm not paying anything more for it because I sell it for so much goddamn money here in America because that's where the market is at. That's where the market is at, okay? So you can't tell me that we couldn't find a way to get that brass in here to America at a reasonable price, make my own, laser CNC, which we have tons of here in America, and I could actually make that stuff here. Like I really could, So you can't tell me we can't do this stuff here in America. We can. The problem is that instead of paying $2.02, plus I guess I forgot about the shipping side. The shipping side makes it more like $3, right? Shipping is actually very expensive. But the point is that you can't tell me that instead of making, whatever, $80 on that I couldn't make $40 on that and still make a ton of money and then have a job here in America. Like, I know I can do that. Like, I have to figure it out, but I know it can be done. But the thing is that currently there is nobody to do that work. It's not done here in America, but we can. We need to bring that back here, and we can do this. Okay, so again, this tariff. Here's the worst part of it, guys. Here's the worst part. When people see that there's a 25% tariff on Indian-made hardware, right? The market where I'm able to charge $90 for that piece of hardware that cost me $2, right? That now the tariffs are in is going to cost me $3, okay? The market is going to move up. Everyone is going to say, well, 25% tariff on a $90 product. We're going to have to raise our prices. We're going to raise our prices. It won't be 25% of $90, but it might be $10. So now we're up to $100. Right? So even though as an importer, I'm paying an extra dollar because of the tariff, I'm gonna be able to raise the price that I sell it for by $10, okay? This is what is wrong with America. This is the most fucked up thing about what we do here when we import all of our stuff. You've got a couple of people that import these things that are making all the money, and again, the worker is not getting much. The person that designs might be getting something. The person that might be working back and forth, the liaison between the foreign country and the American company is probably getting paid a decent chunk of change. But anybody that makes the product is not doing very well. And that's what we got to fix. That's what we need to fix today. That's what this tariff is going to do. And again, it's going to be difficult for people in the beginning. I believe it will get worse. I believe it will lead to a recession, but we've needed this recession for almost 20 years at this point. We needed this recession back in 2008, and people say, well, we had a recession when the great financial crisis happened. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. There was a shit ton of capital that got injected in the country, which is what will happen this time as well. The government will just flood the economy with cash again. None of the banks went out of business, right? And you'll say, yeah, Lehman Brothers went out of business. Great. Bear Stearns went out of business. Great. There were a lot more companies that showed out of business. There were Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, what's the other one? I forget. They all should have went out of business. More banks should have went out of business. During the auto industry, General Motors should have went out of business, right? They needed federal money. They should have went out of business. Stellantis should have went out of business. Or it wouldn't have been Stellantis at the time. There were a lot of companies. These people should have gone out of business because what you need is turnover in these industries. Other car companies would have come into play. It absolutely would have happened, but you need companies to die in order for new ones to be rebuilt, and we haven't allowed that to happen for so long that we've ended up with what I said a minute ago with the incrementalism, right? And a guy like Elon comes in, he can't be bought, he can't be paid for, and he disrupts all of these industries, and people freak out about it. They flip out. I mean, there's a reason the federal government didn't invite Elon Musk to any of the EV summits, even though he's the greatest innovator in that space that's ever existed. They didn't even invite the guy. That's how oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? That's how vindictive our government is towards people that are disruptors, that are creative, So anyway, I'm gonna be done with this thing today. I'm gonna look through the comments real quick. I'm sure I'm losing people as I rant here. Okay, Misty, I appreciate all your comments. I appreciate you having your sticking to it. I'll stick to what I'll stick to, but I appreciate the conversation back and forth. And yeah, you don't have to like Elon, and you don't have to like anybody you don't want. But truth is that the guy's been a net benefit to America, and anyway, these tariffs are coming, and we're going to keep working through them. And as business owners, I think it's going to be good for people. But look out, There are a lot of things made in America, and I think more things will be made in America as these tariffs take hold, if they take hold. The other thing is that these countries just bend the knee, so to speak. So if you want to, my wife's from India, and last thing, if you try and sell a car into India, it's not happening. Very high tariffs because they don't want your vehicle there. They want to make their own vehicles, right? They protect their own industries, right? Because they're a growing country. China does the same thing. A lot of these countries protect their industries. We'll take Canada, right? A lot of these places protect their agriculture industries because otherwise they don't have any agriculture for their own people, right? Which is, America hasn't done that, right? We've let all of our stuff come into America, flood America. It doesn't really matter what it is. And we have not protected our own people, which is a big problem. It's one of the reasons like farmers today have to sell all their shit to other countries. We have massive subsidies for farmers today to protect those industries, because again, there's tons of people that can just flood our country with all kinds of goods, and there's no one's paying for it, So tariffs are coming. It's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be a net good thing. It's going to be very scary for people, but there's hope, and I think it's going to be okay. It's good that we're trying something new. Like, it's absolutely a good thing. So, I hope everyone has a great day. It's Thursday. Tomorrow is what's in the shop. Like, I show you guys all the stuff we're building, the pretty painted furniture, the new made furniture, and we can talk about whatever you want with the furniture business. And that's what's coming down the pipeline. So have a great one, y'all.